Here we go.
The HRRR was right on the nose.
Stand by. Well, it's been a very interesting weekend with these weird weather systems that we've been dealing with. And it's actually quite wintry across much of the eastern and southern United States. So we're going to get into all of that. Some very cold air is on the way. We've got snow going on tonight with advisories still up and Rayo's radars. So all of that is front and center on tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. Shop Amazon, folks. If you do, use our referral link that you will find on the descriptor to this podcast on YouTube. Because when you use that link to get you to Amazon, Amazon throws us back a little bit of coin for sending you there, and it doesn't cost you one extra penny out of your own pocket. And it keeps our live Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast commercial free. So we thank very much those of you who have done so. And Tempest by WeatherFlow. You can get the revolutionary Tempest weather system, and you will be part of the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link for this is pinned to the top of the chat board. It's also on the descriptor to this podcast. And we have an appropriate coupon code, Joe Rayo.
Very appropriate considering what we're going to be looking at for much of this week, Joe Cioffi. Winter 2026. And using that coupon code in conjunction with the Tempest site will get you 10% off anything that you may want to purchase from our good friends over at Tempest.
Mr. Rayo, these nickel and dime events are going to be my death. They really are. I would rather face the uncertainty of a 1 foot plus snowstorm coming than these nickel and dime crazy systems where you can't you have a very high probability of getting if somebody asks you who's going to get them, is my area going to get the most versus some other area, you have a very high probability of being wrong, and vice versa. And this has just been like really crazy because we don't often get events that are paired like this one, like these four, because really they were basically four separate events over 2 days. I haven't seen anything quite like this. I can't remember when I've seen anything quite like this.
Well, as an observer, I was like a distant observer for a while the last couple of days because I was not here at my home base. Bernard and I spent a little time visiting friends up in Vermont, and it was interesting, Joe. Midday yesterday, say around 1 or 2 o'clock, where we were located up on a plateau. It was like 2,000 feet above sea level, snowing moderately. There had already been like maybe 3, 4, 5 inches of snow on the ground. And meanwhile, I'm pacing back and forth because at home, my daughter was watching the dog, but also she was in charge of maintenance of the house, except that she woke up yesterday morning to about maybe a half an inch of snow. And then by the time we got to 1 or 2 o'clock, there was another 3 or 4 inches on top of that. And normally, when I'm at home, I just break out the snow blower and begin. But all she had to her lonesome, besides the dog, was a simple snow shovel. And so this young lady went out with a single snow shovel and shoveled out my driveway so that this way, when I came home today, there'd be some blacktop. Except when she woke up this morning and looked out the window, she went, ah! Because once again, as you pointed out, round two of this event began, and there was a new covering of snow on the driveway. Since then, when we were coming back from Vermont, we didn't have much snow to drive through. We didn't see much snow at all until we were within 50 miles of our house. And so far, we've had, I would say, maybe about 1.5 or maybe 2 inches total for the entire day. And what I said on my Facebook forecast for this evening was additional snow accumulations of 1 to 2 inches. This is for the lower Hudson Valley now. 1 to 2 inches, mainly east of the Hudson River. And if you're west of the Hudson, a coating to an inch. Or overall, if you want to just take the whole Hudson Valley, lower Hudson Valley into concern, a coating to 2 inches going from west to east. That's how I see it. I don't see a major or massive amount of snow. As you just mentioned at the top of our show, we're once again being nickeled and dimed
Oh,
by another by
hate it.
another storm. It is a pain in the you know what.
Right. Well, the weird thing was, so yesterday, Friday night into Saturday morning, there were two distinct pieces that went through. One that went through during the overnight, and then a second piece, and there was a break in between. There was a second piece that went through during the day yesterday. And if you were basically just north and west of the coast, you participated in both of those. Okay. If you were further south, you got some from the first one and not much from the second one. And then we had the same thing, basic again, today, where this was in two pieces, except for the fact that those two pieces now, instead of being up where you are, they were further south. So you wind up again getting, with these nickel and dimes. And now you got this, the last of this is the coastal low, which has been the most frustrating because it goes from being something suppressed to something that came up the coast. But it's still kind of diffuse in terms of what's happening. The radar should have been filling in during late this afternoon. To some extent, it has, but I don't think it has enough to cause any serious additional issues unless you're over eastern Long Island and southeastern New England. Because when you show the radars, you'll see on the radars where the darker green areas indicating areas of moderate to heavy precipitation are going. Uh, so it just made for a very frustrating day from a forecasting standpoint because you had models going one way and then going another way, and you're trying to figure this all out. I just as soon it all be done. Uh, the one certainty that over the next 2 weeks is going to be the fact that for much of the time, it is going to be very cold, uh, for sure.
Yeah, I think the only break that we're going to see from the cold this week will be Wednesday and Thursday. Wednesday, it'll be less harsh because next couple of days we're going to have some rather gusty and blustery winds that are going to make it feel even colder than it really is. Case in point, Tuesday, I don't think temperatures locally are going to get much above the low 20s. And with the winds factored in, probably it'll feel more like low single digits. Wednesday, at least, it'll be a bit milder and there'll be less wind, so it'll actually feel better, although it's not going to be exactly stepping out into a sauna. And Thursday, temperatures may soar all the way to the mid and upper 30s, which doesn't sound very warm, but compared to what's coming after Thursday, for Friday and next weekend, we've got some really cold air that is building up now in northern and western Canada, and it's going to get ready to take the plunge and move in here by late in the week and into next weekend. And that cold air, Joe, I think you'll agree, is going to play a significant role in what may happen weather-wise next weekend to some part of the eastern United States, because already, Joe, I've only been back a few hours since I was up in Vermont again this weekend, so I haven't really had a chance to get acclimated or to get settled in. But already I'm seeing on Facebook and some web pages, announcements that or pronouncements that there's going to be a massive winter storm in the east next weekend.
Yeah, they're starting
And
already.
yeah, it's already starting already. But I point out to you that, and all of our viewers, that this cold air mass that's going to be building in may very well be so cold and so heavy or so dense that it may actually suppress a lot of the effects of that storm from the mid-Atlantic and points south. So if you live, let's say, in New England or here in New York State or Pennsylvania, New Jersey, it may just be cold. It may not be necessarily do anything. But then again, take a look at what we've just gone through this past week with the coastal storm that's now hitting us right now. Recall, coastal storm a week ago, And they were talking about a week ago that this weekend we could see a coastal system that could bring us some snow. Then, after a few days, guess what? The models backtracked a bit and said, no, now it looks like it's going to be too far south and east, so it doesn't look like we're going to get much of anything. And then, literally, on the day that Renata and I were heading up to New England, I'm looking at the new data, and I said, oh no, no, this system was apparently not going to be so
Do you
suppressed
know,
anymore.
by the way,
It was coming back. Yeah.
I was going to say, the models that actually did the best through all of that in terms of the longer range were the AI models of the GFS and the European. They very consistently kept bringing this thing up the eastern seaboard. It didn't disappear on those models. All last week, the AIs were doing it. So they did a really good job. Now, it'll be interesting to see if that continues, if only because of the fact that the European AI, if you're a winter weather lover, it would make you want to move to like Florida, South Florida, because it is a very cold and a very bullish uh, uh, overall pattern for snow over the next couple of weeks. But that's for down the road. We got the stuff that's going on tonight to consider. And we do have some places where it is snowing hard, and other places it's not. We are going to cover it all. Joe's going to get his radars ready to go. After I say welcome tonight to everybody on the chat board, hope you had a nice weekend. And welcome to those of you lurking in the background on tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. We're here Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m. Fridays and Saturdays are off days unless there's a storm around. I don't know that this raised to the level of us having to have added extra shows. But I wound up doing videos, so that's fine. So subscribe to my YouTube channel, turn your notifications on so you don't miss us. And of course, if you like the show, hit the like button. So we'll start off with Upton. We've got some heavier precip in eastern Long Island. But we also have precip going back to the west in New Jersey, and Joe's going to explain it all.
Okay, well, as I said at the top of the show, at least for on my Facebook page, Lower Hudson Valley, and that includes Rockland, Orange, Putnam, Westchester County, and portions of Dutchess and Ulster and Sullivan County. My forecast simply was for an additional. Now, you know what if you live in that area, you know what you've already had for much of this time frame. You've already had anywhere from a half an inch to an inch and a half. So on top of that, factor in the possibility for, as I said, if you live east of the Hudson River, maybe another 1 or 2 inches. If you live west of the Hudson, maybe only a coating to an inch. Now, for whatever reason, my radar stopped, and I don't know why that is. Do you know why it stopped?
I have no idea. Why did it stop?
I'm going to try to. No, I don't know. But I'm going to start it up again, and let's see. Here we go. Here we go. I'm sorry that it did pause for a little bit, but as you can see, and as Joe mentioned, the areas of green are where you're getting the moderate precipitation, and in most cases, the moderate snow, or maybe snow mixed with a little bit of rain out over the Twin Forks and the east end of Long Island. And there's also a spot of moderate precipitation over near the Suffolk-Nassau County borderline here. But if you go further back to the west, you see a lot of blue. This is mostly light snow, and the darker shades of blue, maybe a steadier light snow, and the lighter shades of blue showing just, occasional light snow. In any case, the back edge of that light snow is progressing quite nicely now across the Pennsylvania-New Jersey border, now working its way towards central Jersey. And I would suppose that within the next 1 to 3 hours, the back edge of the snow, is going to work its way into and through the immediate New York City metropolitan area. So the only places that will still have, as of midnight, any kind of precipitation will be central, eastern Connecticut, central and eastern Long Island. But this is what I was saying. The further west you go, the faster this precip is going to wind on down and end and probably leave you with not more than maybe a coating to an inch. Further east you go, maybe an inch, maybe a couple of inches, especially from the Westchester, Connecticut line or along the border of the Hudson Valley into western Connecticut. You may get another inch or two of the white stuff on top again of what you've already received from earlier today. And as Joe mentioned, we did have a bit of a break during the midday as we were traveling down the Taconic Parkway from our little sojourn up in Vermont. We didn't see any. In fact, Joe, we even had some breaks of dim sunshine. It wasn't until we got within about 50 miles of Putnam County that we started seeing snow. And even then, it really wasn't anything to write home about, just some light snow. And it really wasn't sticking all that much, at least to the main drags or the main thoroughfares. So it was not a big deal, although it did, things were looking rather pretty as we came home, especially on many of the trees from the snows of yesterday and the snow of early this morning. Now, if we go further to the north and east, let's go up to
Well, before
Boston.
while you switch radars, I just want to really quick, at least as of 7 o'clock tonight, we were seeing steady light snow in and around New York City. Teterboro Airport is actually was reporting moderate snow, which is about an inch an hour at 7 o'clock. Mostly very light snows being reported on Long Island, which is a little surprising considering that the stronger echoes were on the East End. But I don't have any East End stations that were reporting at 7 o'clock. Some light snow, 1 mile visibility at White Plains. In New Jersey, I had someone I know just messaged me saying it's snowing heavily in Tom's River, in East Coastal New Jersey, in Ocean County, and it's snowing everywhere in the state. Moderate snow also at Trenton, as well as in Teterboro. Still some light snow left over in Philadelphia and Allentown, and mostly light snows being reported again as of 7 o'clock in Connecticut. Okay, I'm sorry. Go
No,
do call.
but you're right. If you look on the last few frames of this loop here from Upton, there are speckles of green, not anything solid like what we're seeing
Right.
here over Long Island, but there are speckles of green indicating some moderate activity. Indeed, over or near Tom's River, also in the vicinity of Teterboro. So it's sometimes just a few of these little areas of green translate into perhaps moderate snow. But again, as I point out, the back edge of the snow is apparently moving at a fairly rapid pace from New Jersey or the western end of New Jersey eastward. And I would suspect, again, that in another hour or two, a lot of this is going to be moving through the New York area and off of the Jersey coast. And that'll be it. It'll be all over. We'll just be left with a lot of cloud cover. And tomorrow we should break out into at least partly cloudy to sunny conditions around the region. So that's again the Upton radar. If we check out the Boston radar, and of course the big thing we were up in Vermont over the weekend, Joe. Many of the stations that we were watching were from out of the Boston area, and that's all they were talking about was today's big football game, which the Patriots came out the victors. And of course, they were also talking about how the weather would be influencing the game. And indeed, they did have snow. It wasn't like watching a game from Buffalo, but as you can see right now, a lot of this green translating into probably moderate snow from about the Boston area down to the south across Providence and Rhode Island and down through southeastern Massachusetts, Cape Cod, and the islands where maybe even a little bit on the rainy side here with somewhat slightly milder temperatures. Notice, if you will, also on this particular view, how there was a corridor of dry weather. There's nothing happening right here. And notice how that corridor very quickly closed up and was replaced by an area of moderate snow over in eastern Massachusetts. So that pretty much is what we saw here a few hours ago in the immediate New York area. It was really not doing all that much to write home about. And now, as you mentioned, Joe, parts of the area seeing light to moderate steady snow. And that'll be the case for about another hour or two before things finally wind down and come to an end. Let me just go further north here. This is the Portland radar, and you can see in Portland they're picking up on some precipitation. It's almost like it's enclosing the Portland area right now. That's again from that coastal system, which is affecting areas right along the coastal plain. So if you're down East Maine, You haven't seen very much today, but you probably will see a bit of snow overnight tonight, again from that coastal system as it moves north and eastward and begins to intensify somewhat. Just to show you what is going on, if you go to the south and west of the New York metropolitan area, here is Washington, D.C., and
Oh,
you
go
can
to
see
Mount Holly.
there's the back edge. Yeah, we can go to Mount Harley. Oh, Harley.
Holly.
Ah, ah, here we go. Philadelphia, Wrightstown, New Jersey, uh, showing again much of New Jersey, as you pointed out, Joe, seeing the snow, but also seeing that again, that edge, that back edge, that coming in from the west. And you can see those areas, and this shows up even better on the Philadelphia radar. You're talking about moderate snow in places like Tom's River. Well, there you go. It's only picking up as light green speckles on the Upton radar, but they're much further away from the Jersey shore. But the Philadelphia radar picking up on it, the Wrightstown, New Jersey, certainly showing the areas of moderate snow that is occurring right now, right across the coastline of New Jersey. And here's the back edge again, racing eastward, and will soon be moving through. It looks like Delaware is all but out of it for the most part, and moving through eastern Pennsylvania. And all of this again probably will be offshore within the next hour or two, or at worst, hour or three. Washington, I was just showing that. The DC, Sterling, Virginia radar, there's the back edge. Now much of Maryland is out in the clear, and there is Delaware now, just a random leftover spot of precipitation there. But most of Maryland is now out free and clear, as is the case also in northern Virginia and most of Pennsylvania here too, save again for the areas immediately bordering the New Jersey borderline. So you could see that many areas are done with the snow, and those areas that are still putting on some activity from that coastal system, areas further to the east and to the northeast, again, New York and Boston and parts of New England. But other than that, this is it. This is the final fanfare, if you will, of the storm or the system that we've been following for the better part of a week now. Any
By the
other
way, that
spot you want to go to, Joe?
what was that saying? Last part again?
Any other spot you want to go to?
No,
Or
that's fine. There are all the actions in the Northeast this evening. That was Adam Hewitt, by the way, in Tom's River, and also Joseph Carr on the chat board, um, confirming what Adam Hewitt said and what you said with respect to the radar about what's happening in parts of some of the coastal counties in New Jersey. We've got the watches and warnings and advisories up on the screen, and winter weather advisories from southeast Pennsylvania. Some of them are going to be expiring shortly, going northeastward through much of northern New Jersey, Long Island, New York City, Connecticut, the lower Hudson Valley back to the Catskills, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, southern Vermont, New Hampshire, and southern Maine. We also, just real quick, if you take a look at what's on the satellite loop, you can see the rotation back over the Great Lakes, and that marks the leading edge of very cold air that's going to be coming in tomorrow night and for Tuesday into the first part of Wednesday. So, with that, we are seeing winter storm warnings up for uh, Western Michigan again, with lake effect getting playing a big role here. The upper peninsula of Michigan facing Lake Superior, winter storm warnings, advisories on either side, winter storm warnings in southwestern New York and north central New York. I must have said that I don't know how many times this winter so far. They've been almost on 70 permanent winter storm warnings there. And go on to Wisconsin. We have winter weather advisories in the southern part of the state, in Minnesota, western Minnesota, particularly the northern part of that, northwestern part of it, and eastern parts of north and northeastern South Dakota under blizzard warnings right now. So very cold air that is coming in, and it's only the first of several cold air masses that we're going to be playing with. Earlier today, we had winter storm warnings up for parts of South Georgia. I don't know how much snow they got, but they got some. And the snow did not make it up anywhere close to me in North Georgia. Did get into some of the northeastern counties briefly, And yes, a Delaware weather guy who just hit the tip jar. Thank you. And yes, somebody did say Delaware. Here's the surface map tonight. Here's our coastal low. There's a diffuse dying front that's off the New Jersey coast that was part of this whole equation today. And that wave is moving northeastward, the low offshore moving northeastward and eventually going out. And then, of course, we've got to wait for you have the cold air and then you have the real cold air. So in the cold air, temperatures at the today were, at least as of 4 o'clock, were in mostly in the teens and low 20s, and the cold shot made it all the way down into the deep south, clearly. And then you've got very cold air that is back up through Minnesota and the Dakotas, where temperatures are running in the single digits to below zero and beyond. So all of this is all part of the plan as we go forward in time. Wide radar view, you can see the snow areas around the Great Lakes. When the air is very cold and you look at the radar echoes, normally when you look at the radar echoes, for example, um, and even in this case, it doesn't apply too much, but in general, you would look at these darker bluish and gray areas where the snow is not reaching the ground. But when you're in bitter cold air, usually snow is reaching the ground in a lot of this. And then when you start to see the green echoes, that's probably where you see bands of heavy snow, and you see the heavy snow band that's coming off of Lake Michigan. And I'm not sure if that's Lansing or Grand. I think that might be Lansing or near Lansing. But you can see the stronger echoes would indicate areas of heavy snow rather than perhaps just moderate or even a steady light. As far as precipitation goes this week, now I'm thinking this map's going to change some when we look at this tomorrow. But the what you see in much of the Northeast is probably the vast majority of it away from the Great Lakes is what's going on today. So at least after 8 o'clock, a quarter of an inch uh, eastward, the half inch cutting eastern Long Island and southeastern New England. Of particular interest is the area of moisture that's being indicated in areas in Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, and Tennessee, as well as Mississippi and Alabama. This cold air is going to be pushing southward, and you have some of the modeling showing the idea that there could be a serious snow and ice storm across the deep south out of this, and we're going to look at that momentarily. But again, much of the country, precipitation wise, is actually on the light side, except in and around the Great Lakes, obviously, with the lake effect. Even the Pacific Northwest not showing very much. So the overall pattern long term, when I say long term, I would say that within the next couple of weeks, um, looks cold. Doesn't mean it's cold every single day or very cold. It doesn't mean it's very cold every single day, but I think you'll have the odd day where when it warms up, it just gets back to close to average and then says goodbye. But we are in a place here with ridging in much of the West, not just the West, but all the way to Alaska. This is a negative East Pacific oscillation signal, which, as you know, if you've watched this show, you've heard me say many times. If you're a winter weather lover, give me a negative EPO and I'll take my chances with all the other teleconnections. And that's what we're doing. Hudson Bay polar vortex, very strong. Part of it lifts out, another part of it drops in for later this week. And this is where we start to set up with maybe a bit of an overrunning situation across the deep south with very cold air to the north and some warmer air along the Gulf Coast interacting with that cold air, and where the two meet could become problematic. And you'll notice as we go through time on the GFS, I'm already 10 days out here, and we're still pretty much in the same place with a pretty strong polar connection coming down into the U.S., and that holds pretty much right through the forecast period as we get into early February. And the European was really no different. In fact, um, I've been monitoring the European weeklies, which were very interesting because it kind of did a little bit of a flip for February, Joe. But this coming week, the 19th to the 26th. You can see the extent of below normal temperatures. And
Right.
as we and you go to the 26th, this is the week of the 26th into February 7th, 2nd. Uh, the maximum below normal temperatures include eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England and back through the Ohio Valley and Great Lakes and much of the Northeast and Mid Atlantic, and well below normal temperatures extending down into the deep south. Where the flip occurred is after that period where you're going to get some moderation. You can't, you stay cold for a 2 week stretch. That's a long stretch. But what was interesting to me was that the European weeklies, which had been showing late last week for a few days, suddenly that we were going to see a stretch of above normal temperatures as we move past the first, say, week of February, now have backed off on this. Um, from the 2nd to the 9th, it's at best normal and still below normal in the coastal plain. The 9th to the 16th, the same. The 16th to the 23rd, mostly below, near average. I've noticed on the weeklies, the further out you go, the less extremes you see. So when we get closer, you could certainly see this be below average temperature wise. And even going into early March, the first semblance of maybe some normalcy starts to appear. So the vast majority of the long range forecast for the winter, by the time this month is over, will have busted in a big way for the eastern part of the United States for the second year in a row, which I think is fascinating.
What are you going to do? That that's Does this mean that every time now we see these long range forecasts, or with the old Farmer's Almanac, it says it's going to be mild winter, or not so good for snow lovers or winter weather? Should we go the opposite way now?
Well, I been saying, have you not heard me say when everybody piles on the same side of the trade, you want to get on the other side?
Yeah, yeah.
And this is the second year in a row where that's been I mean, I'm sure there's been other years, but certainly these last 2 years really stand out, especially last year because they got the whole country wrong. So, I mean, it's just the whole thing wrong. So anyway,
Unless we get a big snowstorm here in the Northeast corridor, the people are going to be, those, especially the winter weather lovers,
right.
are all going to be doing the same thing. Like, oh, we wasted all of that cold air. We didn't get any, But
Yeah, but you know
it's
something? You talk to people that live outside of the immediate coastal areas. I mean, you've already had more than you're probably closing in on 20 inches for the season so far. So you're ahead of normal. And you go further up into upstate New York. You go to the snow belts. You go around the Great Lakes and the Ohio Valley because they had those December systems that went through. They're going to remember it maybe totally differently. They're going to remember it as a winter where it's been that was difficult. So it's
right.
all according to location.
Location, location, location.
hmm So here's
Yep.
how it looks on the surface, folks. Our storm system tonight pulls out. The Arctic boundary moves through later tomorrow. We get very cold. And now, what was interesting to me is that you can gradually see another big cold high that comes down as we get into Friday. And this, at least, on the GFS, uh, sets up an overrunning pattern, and you see it here with snow and ice in the deep south. But what it does is basically suppresses all of this southward. So if you believe it, and that's because there's so much bitter cold air that it just overwhelms. I mean, we get to a 492, 498 thickness here by the time we get to next Sunday. I mean, this would be brutally cold here in the eastern part of the United States. And if the overrunning sets up, this could wind up being a snow and ice situation. And the European, believe it or not, the European is now showing the same thing. And we got
That can
100
only be
lights.
that can
Yeah.
only mean we've gone over 100. Thank you very much.
But here's the European, Joe. It's just like the GFS showing significant snow and icing across Arkansas, northern Mississippi, and northern Alabama, northern Georgia, wedging of that cold air into the Appalachians. Snow on the northern flank of this, from Oklahoma to northern Arkansas, Kentucky, northern Tennessee, West Virginia, and Virginia. Now it only goes out to 144 hours, and I don't know how this is going to play out on the next couple of runs or the next, 5 or 6 or 10 runs, but If we wind up with an Arctic high coming down and just basically overwhelming everything across the Great Lakes and Northeast, it's going to make for could set up for something very interesting and something that hasn't happened in a number of years in the interior areas of the Deep South. Last year it was the coastal areas of the Deep South that got their big snowstorm, but this time around it's further north. Lots to and beyond that, the implications in the long range are kind of uncertain. And I mentioned, by the way, the AI from earlier, and since you probably haven't seen it, the European AI down the road. Now, this does not show precip type, so all the precips in green, whether it's rain or
Right,
snow.
right.
But if you believe the AI, it brings all this southern moisture up over next weekend with a low off the Virginia coast and snow going all the way up into upstate New York and Vermont and New Hampshire. And this would be a snow or nothing situation because of how much cold air we're dealing with. And after that, if you want to go further out into the long range, there's something else around the 28th or 9th off the southeast coast, and then it's got some kind of diver that comes down and makes for a very interesting scenario along about in early February. So it'll be, it's really interesting to see. Actually, the European didn't do the diver. I think the GFS AI did the diver. So here's the overrunning, which the GFS also has. It's a little further north, and it brings all that precip up the coast next weekend. And here comes the big Arctic plunge that goes south, and as the Arctic high, the big Arctic high, Joe, a 1062 high. Okay, dropping down into the Dakotas, it forces a storm development off the East Coast around January 30th. I mean, a wrapped up animal low. Of course, again, this is so long range and it's so fantasy land, and I get that. But it's kind of interesting that the AI models did really well this week overall. So I'm kind of, and I don't always pay any kind of attention to it, but maybe after what happened this week, we should keep an eye on what the AI models are doing over the next 2 weeks with all this cold air coming in.
Well, we'll see how the AI does with this impending system for next weekend. And of course, between now and next weekend, we'll be looking at everything. We'll be looking at the AI. We'll be looking at the um, uh, ensembles. We'll be looking at the operational models, all of them, how they
And then,
handle this setup, and
and
we'll
then
see
we'll
what
see if we
happens.
can come to a conclusion.
Yeah, to see if it'll drive us crazy like this system that we just had or is having right now has done to us. I know that. Do you want me to mention uh, what you had typed to me yesterday, or not yesterday, on Friday? I had asked you on Friday. I was up in Vermont, and I asked you on Friday afternoon. I said, "Do you plan to do a show tonight in lieu of all of what was happening?" What did you say?
I forgot what did
You
what
said
did,
you just felt like your head was about
oh,
to
my head was
explode.
like ready to explode. I just it was literally about to explode. I couldn't deal with it. Just could not deal with it. I had so many conversations. I love the snow removal guys that I work with, and I work with a bunch of them. Um, but I'm having individual conversations with different ones and having to just kind of go over the same things over and over again and all the different questions that come at me. And you get to a certain point where you just have no, especially at our age, where you just have no room. There's no room anymore. Okay. I need to stop. So it's kind of how I've been feeling for the last 3 days, trying to explain, the two-part scenarios that we've been doing. And some folks had the two parts and some folks didn't have the two parts. So it was, yeah, no, that's why we didn't do a show because my head was going to blow up. By the way,
Now,
it
I
really,
just want to, I just want to make Tom Contino and a few of the other people on the list happy, on the chat board happy, because while we've been talking about snow and the possibilities of snow and what we're looking at long range, whatever like that, you know what the discussion has been on the chat board? The
about the
discussion
fact
has
that you
been
should get a Mac.
the discussion has been about the story I told last week about how when we had the Honeymooners convention at the German club here, Brian Carney, Art Carney's son, was our guest of honor, and that he brought along with Art Carney's Emmy and Golden Globe and Oscar with him. The most prized possession of all was the hat, Ed Norton's hat. And I had made a mention of the fact that he allowed anyone to put the hat on themselves, including yours truly. And so somebody, I think it was Tom Contino saying about, did Joe Rayo show the picture of him wearing the hat? Well, for those of you who have been wondering about that, here it comes. I'm going to show it right now. There it, there it is. Let me make this bigger. Maybe it'll show up a little bit better here. There you go. On the left, you have Art Carney's son, Brian Carney. On the right of me, you have Sam Storch, who is a very, very assiduous amateur astronomer, former planetarium director at the Edwin Hubble Planetarium in Brooklyn, now retired. He's down in Florida. He flew from Florida up to Putnam County to be a part of this affair of honeymooner, fanatics. And in the middle, there you see yours truly wearing, as is Sam, the Ralph Cramden for President T-shirt. And there I am. That is it. That is the hat. Brian Carney, of course, I said, bringing the hat along with him and making anyone who wanted to wear it. And that, I don't know, Joe, that's like a seminal moment for me, watching the Honeymooners for 60 years, right, and now having the opportunity to actually wear Ed Norton's hat. But there it is. And that was an amazing situation. And yeah, that was a great time. And we all had a great time at that event. This is back in 2022 at, again, the German American Club. I have no idea what this picture is of. It's part, I guess, again, a lot of German heritage in that clubhouse. But any case, and we also had, not only did we have the hat and all of the awards that Art Carney won, but also we had the original sink from the Honey. Somebody who was a collector actually came, I think, from New Jersey and brought the sink and also brought Ralph's uniform. It was astonishing. It was amazing that all of this stuff, all this memorabilia, congregated in one spot that night. But in any case, you wanted to see it. There it is. Yours truly wearing the hat that Ed Norton wore all of those years. A pretty amazing night in Putnam.
That's just great. That is just great. I told you to watch Harry and Tonto this weekend. Did you watch Harry and Tonto?
We did watch. We did not watch it. We ended up watching, and I never realized that he did this for the National Geographic Channel. Will Smith did a documentary called Going Pole to Pole. And this was not just a program, it was a series of programs. And I think we saw like 5 or 6 of them. Will Smith going to Antarctica, Will Smith going to New Guinea, Will Smith going to the Amazon, doing all of this, tracking around the world and talking with experts and talking about such things as climate change, global warming, the importance of preserving the Amazon jungle and all that. And I didn't even realize that such a show existed. I'm wondering if there's ever, I guess it was on the National Geographic Channel, but it was a great thing to watch. No, we did not get a chance though to watch Harry and Tonto. I will definitely, because I did read about it on Wikipedia, and I said this is a movie I definitely want to get my hands on and get a chance to watch and see.
Okay. Do you have Briller Jeopardy tonight?
Yes, I do. And you're going to find this very interesting since we did talk about the Honeymooners. This, let me get it up here for a moment. And Scott sent this to me over the weekend. I actually had to ask Scott to, on one of the questions, to make himself a little clearer. Come on, where is it now? And we're taking a break, Joe, from weather-related Briller Jeopardy questions.
Oh, good. Let's have some fun. I like when we take a break and we do other stuff.
Yes. So here we go. We're taking a little break on weather, Brother Jeopardy, and talking about one of the most popular TV shows on the Joe and Joe show, and that is, what have we been talking about? The Honeymooners. And so we're going to provide questions here, Joe, for our viewers, and we will start. Question number one: what was Ralph's weekly pay?
You want me to stay out of this?
I'm sure that, I know especially um, we've got a couple of people who are Honeymooner fans. No, yeah, no, but I mean, if you know the answer, why not?
Well, the answer is $62 a week. $62 a week. $62
$62
a week.
a week.
Right. I don't want
Quiet,
my salary
quiet.
to leak
I
out.
don't want my salary to leak out.
Your salary couldn't drip out.
Drip out. Number two, what dance did Norton teach Ralph?
Oh, I could hear the music in my ear. Uh,
Here's a
That's
dance you know.
so. Oh,
Whoa!
oh, do the hucklebuck, the
That's
hucklebuck.
it. The Hucklebuck, right. What test did Ralph try on a vacuum?
What test did he try on a vacuum cleaner? Didn't he put the thing in his mouth?
Yeah, well, that's part of it. But
Right,
what was the test that he used the vacuum for?
like a suction test of some sort.
Well, what did he sprinkle on the floor that made Alice very upset?
Oh, was it? It wasn't. I'm guessing it wasn't a mound of dirt.
No,
It was. Wasn't it tax?
no, it wasn't tax. There was an episode where he did Ralph put tax down, but that was a
Right, to keep from.
sleepwalking episode.
Yeah, that was the sleepwalking episode.
Yeah.
No, I don't
And I
know
think,
the
and
answer.
I think Lucy, I Love Lucy, even used this
No, they
bit.
did, but on I Love
There's
Lucy, she took a ball of dirt and she threw it into
no,
the
but it was
woman's
not dirt.
apartment.
Does anybody here on the chat board? No, oatmeal. Oatmeal, Patrick Darcy. You're correct. Patrick Darcy was right. A lot of people were saying baby powder or whatever, but no, it was oatmeal. Now, this is the question that I had him send, not a retraction, but I want him to make it a little bit clearer. What famous comedian's son was a writer on the Honeymooners?
What famous comedian's son? Hmm. And it's funny because I almost always read the credits of these shows, just to see, and I don't. Hmm.
Christopedia says Richard Pryor. No, I don't think
No.
so.
Well, all right. So if this person's son was writing for the show, let's just say he was probably in his 30s at the time,
Right.
which means that the person was in his 60s. Um, hmm, or 50s. I have no idea. I just don't know. I'm
Well,
trying.
when he gave me the answer, and I looked at it, I wrote back to him. I said, you gave us the name of the comedian, but it's the comedian's son who we're trying to get. So what is the name of the comedian's son? And the comedian, the
Was
son's
it
name
Carl Reiner? Well, no,
no,
it wasn't
the,
Carl Reiner because that was he
no,
already
the
was
name of the comedian
established.
was the name of the comedian, the writer on the show who was the son of the comedian, Marvin Marks, whose father was Groucho Marx.
Oh, okay. So it was
So there
Groucho's
you,
son.
yep.
Oh, that's very
Number
interesting. I didn't know that.
I did like a double take when I saw that, but that's the answer. How about number five? What bus route does Ralph drive?
Uh, Excuse me. Um, he doesn't drive a Park Avenue route, did he?
Not Park Avenue,
Not
no.
Park Avenue. Oh man. Madison Avenue,
Madison Avenue, right. And finally, the last one, and everybody knows this.
which
Number
is one
six.
block up from Park Avenue, by the way. For those. Anyway, go ahead.
Name the Name the Crandon's local Chinese restaurant.
Was it the Hong Kong Gardens?
The Hong Kong Gardens. Yep.
I ruined the show forever. I ruined Briller Jeopardy for most everyone.
Well, what the heck, Joe?
Why not? Um, yeah, Ruben, how the hell would you know this? Well, if you watch some quality television every once in a while instead of some of the crap that parades as quality these days. So there. Anyway, I was just checking some of the observations. There were a few spots reporting some moderate snows around New York City, including Kennedy Airport. So that was kind of interesting. But other than that, it's still mostly light stuff, and as Joe pointed out, doesn't have much. There's not much left to it. It'll be over with in the next few hours from west to east and done, and then we are going to just make sure that hopefully whenever anybody gets snow, it's going to be down in the upper teens and to low 20s by tomorrow morning. So you want everything that whatever's out there that fell and melted, and any new snow on top of it is just going to freeze during the overnight. So watch the walkways in the morning when you get out there. But it's a
Incidentally,
holiday tomorrow too, so
Harold Olson on the chat board says, "Where did Mr. Harper play golf? Can Mr. Rayo keep his perfect streak alive?" I believe that's Silver Oaks. And of course, when Mr. Harper tells Ralph that, Ralph says, "Oh, I go there all the time."
right, of course.
Yeah.
All right. I think we can wrap it up for tonight and let everybody know that you and I will be back here tomorrow night at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time for the Monday version of the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast.
I
I'm
will
gonna
be
go to
here.
bed. I'm tired. I'm beat. Um, so we'll see everybody tomorrow night, right?
I hope so.
And Delaware weather guy, thank you for the super chat hit. We'll see you all tomorrow. Night night.
Good night.